Hey, tonight we're at university and we are asking, is it gay or is it in the DNA?
I don't think that gene exists. I'm not sure actually.
Oh, it depends.
I mean, it depends. Like every metal has a good side and a bad side, do you know? So it could be used for something good, but also like for something bad.
Oh, I'm not touching that one.
Hey, and welcome to another episode of Queer Young Thing. My name's Dylan Adler, and if you want to join in the conversation, you can hit us up with the QYT hashtag. Today we're talking about university and being an LGBTI student at university. Prime guests for today, we have Cannon, Emily, Carly, and Arjun. These are all students from university life. Go figure. And they're also queer. Now, I'd like to know a little bit about everyone, but before we get into that, I guess, what are some of the best memories or the best experience you've had in university so far?
Being part of the college life. I was part of college for 3 years in my undergrad, and before that I wouldn't have gone out to heaps of parties and stuff, but just being in that kind of open atmosphere and being around people, having fun, and it just kind of made university more exciting than it otherwise possibly could have been. Just, it's not all study, there's fun things to do, like you can go out and party. And
do you find that in university, I guess as university as opposed to high school, the idea of sexuality isn't exactly the biggest, most pressing issue, so people see you more as a person rather than, I guess, a label? Yeah,
it's not as petty. In high school, if you were to come out as same-sex attracted, everyone would be like, oh, it's a gay person, let's tease them or whatever. But in university, it's like, yeah, whatever, we're past that. Yeah. So you can be yourself, and it's like, it's a part of you, but it's not who you are. Like, everyone knows you for who you are, and that's more important. That's the feeling I got anyway, coming out. Like, it was just another thing about me that people found out. So
fantastic.
Yeah.
So how about yourself, Emily? What have been some of the best experiences that you've taken out of university to date?
Well, definitely, like, I lived, like you, on college in my first year. And coming from a country town, that was really beneficial to, like, meet people and things like that. Also, the queer chat that my university runs has been really beneficial and helpful. It's once a week on a Wednesday, and we just go for an hour, and it's all like-minded queer university students, and we just chat about whatever's on our mind. And yeah, it's really good fun.
If science could identify a gay or lesbian gene, is that a good or bad thing, and why?
I think it's a good thing because it would prove that you're born that way rather than you become that way.
There would be so much less being judged by others. It would be understood that, it's something you're born with. So, yeah, you pretty much get the freedom to live your life.
I just think people should accept if there is such a gene, that's how we're made.
I guess if it did exist, it would be a good thing, because that way maybe people who weren't so open-minded about it will understand a little bit more.
Now, Arjun, what's your favourite part about university so far? Can you just give a bit of a... Actually, before you get into that, can you give us a bit of a backstory about your time at university?
My time at university? Well, I'm doing my PhD here in Australia, but before this, I did my university in Delhi, and for me, that was the majority of my university experience before I came here. I'd say it was the independence, just the ability to be away from a certain community that you've grown accustomed to, and just express yourself in new ways and sort of make yourself a new person in a sense. Yeah. That was exciting, and I think the transition to an international university has been quite exciting as well, because now it's that process all over again, but on a bigger scale.
Now, I'd like to know, because you just said that you were an international student. Yeah. You started off university in Delhi. Now, what was studying at Delhi as a gay man like, in terms of coming to La Trobe University, which has such a supportive and inclusive LGBTI community? What were the key differences?
Yeah, I would say the university at Delhi did not have a support structure.
Were students allowed to be out?
Yeah, of course, but that was a personal decision. It wasn't, supported by. There weren't counsellors on campus, helping you out and stuff like that.
And did you come out while you were at university in Delhi?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, and it was cool. I had great friends, and it's a very complex issue in a place like Delhi. Things are changing dramatically, and but it's been exciting, and that was quite a different. In the sense that at La Trobe there's much more space for queer expressions, and I think there's an institutional setup as well. So you have counsellors supporting you, and all sorts of official ways of dealing with things that you wouldn't have otherwise.
That's awesome.
I think it depends on who has power and control over that information.
See, this is hard because I'm a science student, and I also come from a family of 4 with 3 gay children.
Well, it would solve the debate if you're born gay or not, but look, I believe sexuality is a very fluid thing, and a gene, unless it was a form of Calvin Klein's, in which case I'd probably buy a pair.
Now, Cannon, you are studying health sciences. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Sort of. Oh, what are we studying? What are you
Occupational
studying?
therapy.
Occupational therapy. So, what's that been like? And is there anything? And what have you taken out of your studies so far?
I was part of a project for a year, and my university campus is in Frankston. My project was to get up and running a queer space on that campus because there's no visibility and no support out there. So I guess that's been the funnest thing I've done at uni.
So why do you think there wasn't key support for, or I guess, a queer space at your campus?
I think there's a few levels. Like, there's no visibility, there's no groups that meet. It's mostly related to health subjects, so there's paramedics, nursing, physio. I kind of feel like there's a bit of stigma in health and same-sex attraction, gender diversity. I don't know if that sort of comes through in that it's also a really isolated campus. So exactly why it's like that, I don't know, but that's the way it is.
And I guess moving forward, how is the queer space going so far?
It's slow. I definitely felt like the only queer in the village for a long time. We have the space now, definitely just trying to build the community.
Yeah. And is it a community involvement that's lacking, or do you think it's community support?
It's both. It's both ways. Yeah.
Right. Well, this has been an interesting chat so far, but stick around because we've got more Queer Young Thing coming up right after this. Hey, welcome back to Queer Young Thing. My name's Dylan and we are still talking about university life. Now, we're going to get into the conversation a little bit deeper now. Cannon, you've got quite an interesting experience at university. It's a story that you'd like to share. Do you mind sharing that with the Ben TV audience?
Sure. So my university time has been pretty not very fun in terms of the social outcomes that I've had. I'm doing occupational therapy, and it's a class predominantly cisgendered young women.
And for anyone listening who isn't aware, cis is when you a gender that you for me, I'd be a cis male, being born as a male and identifying as a male. Is that correct?
Yeah. So I've just had a really isolated time there. I've been at uni for 5 years now. I've made one friend in the last year. So a lot of my class time is spent with the same people through the program, but hasn't really gone any further for me. And that's been really hard to do my course with that being the context and sort of not getting out of uni what a lot of people say that they do get.
Now, Emily, you were in the green room. You were talking about your queer support group was leading discussion about trans and gender support.
And we were just discussing how there wasn't really a lot of awareness, especially around our campus, and we were discussing perhaps doing something to help raise awareness for trans people, like maybe included in, we have a Pride Week every year, maybe including something in that to help raise awareness amongst the students on like how to act around, you know, trans people, just things like that. So I think could, be very helpful, beneficial, hopefully.
If science could identify a gay or lesbian gene, is that a good or bad thing and why?
I don't think it particularly matters.
It wouldn't affect anything that much, I think.
It's kind of irrelevant.
I think it's how we use it, whether it's good or bad. I think it shouldn't matter.
I don't know.
No, I reckon God created Adam and Eve, so keep it that way.
Do you find that university, in your experience, has been, I guess, either a homophobic or transphobic experience?
Yeah, and that's gone into my placements and where I spend, you know, I'm on a 10-week placement now, so it's a long time to be in an environment that's homophobic and transphobic. And
could you give us an example? Because I guess when a lot of heterosexuals, they say they're not homophobic, but then they make homophobic comments, and the same, I guess, would go for transphobic comments. Can you share with us any examples of things that have been said to you that have been otherwise off the cuff, but still nonetheless hurtful?
I wouldn't say any direct experiences of discrimination, but I think sort of being not a part of the group is discrimination, like being excluded from, I guess, the social environment is the biggest experience of exclusion. On placements, definitely just people being really quite weird around me. Those kind of experiences that just kind of are off. Like you can tell when people are friendly and you get to a level where you're interacting in an authentic way, and it's just never gets quite there.
And if something like this were to happen, say, at one of your university's queer support groups, if someone brought up a story similar to what Cannon shared with us today, what would, I guess, any outcomes or any, what would be the direct plan of attack for a situation like this?
Well, I think that, you know, it's very important because for most people, the experience of isolation or the experience of feeling excluded from a particular group of classmates or friends or whatever is quite strong. And I think in such, you know, circumstances, the best support group would be a queer support group on campus, like, you know, Queer Chat on Wednesdays at Trobe. And I think, there's, you know, it offers that space to come and just talk about that isolation or talk about your feelings. And just expressing it, I think, makes a significant difference.
It's a bad thing. It gives a point of difference and a basis for discrimination.
They're just trying to determine, like, specifically how to distinguish us. And, like, as a group, we are, as an individual, as, like, heterosexuals or any other group, and it's just another way of just trying to specifically change us, and it's not possible. It's really not possible, so.
Ooh, I don't think so. I'd worry that maybe they'll do some kind of genetic experiment to make sure that no more are born or something.
Because people might try and, like, fix it, and there's not really a problem with it to begin with, so.
It's a bad thing. No one should care.
Yeah, I think it would be really good to see, like, I know Melbourne Uni, I don't think they have a Pride Week per se. There is a queer group, but I haven't had much to do with it just because I'm on the vet campus and it's kind of like a whole different world. It's like its own little pocket. But at La Trobe, they had the queer community was quite prominent, but the trans community wasn't as much, and there is room to improve on that to make people feel more comfortable and welcome, and that's important. So.
And that's why, because I'm from La Trobe, and that's why we wanted to help, because even though we do have that Pride Week, we don't have anything specifically related to trans issues and things like that. So that's why we wanted to help, maybe, you know, create something to include.
Yeah, I think the La Trobe group's been really good at making things happen.
It definitely opens the doors for people who aren't very supportive of us to try and change things.
Because then people would start looking for a cure to eliminate the gene and
Oh, look, I think in some ways maybe, yes, because it would actually sort of just say, well, there really is no choice in this.
Because, you know, it would segregate further than
how far we already are segregated.
I think it would be largely a positive thing.
Because then people would just get over it, I guess.
Canon, he doesn't have a queer support group at his university. So what do you do to, I guess, combat that? Like, is there anything that you have done? Do you have any other support networks outside of university?
I definitely have lots of support networks outside, but the university's in Frankston, and when I initially started, I moved down to that area. I found that I actually just had to move back to the city.
Yeah.
So I was away from there and in my own social networks for that kind of support.
Well, this is a pretty interesting talk, but we've got our elders coming up right after this. Hit us up on Twitter with the QYT hashtag. You're watching Queer Young Thing. Hey, welcome back to Queer Young Thing. We're talking about university life in this episode. And now it's time to welcome our panel of experts. We've got Stephen and Anya from the Trobe University. Now, Steve, what can you tell me about your story, your journey at La Trobe so far to date?
So I started at La Trobe a few years ago now, and I hadn't come out yet when I started at university, so I struggled a little while, so I took some time off and went through counselling and that sort of stuff to come out to a lot of people and that sort of thing.
Was there any particular reason why you waited until university to come out?
I think when I went through high school, I decided that it wasn't the right time for me, and I wanted to wait a little while I kept putting it off into this future perfect moment that would be fantastic. So that moment eventually arrived, and then I came out to a lot of people and that sort of thing, then came back to university. And then since then I've sort of taken a role at the counselling service as a QUeerPeer, where I sort of work with some of these people we've got here.
Yeah, and how about yourself, Anya? Now, you're an international student as well. Can you give the audience a bit of a backstory about your life in the States and then coming over to Australia?
Well, I used to live in Kansas City, Missouri, which is on the Bible Belt, so I lived in a very conservative area.
So it's really encompassing of the LGBTI community, for sure.
Oh, definitely. Yep, I went to high school where to be gay was not spoken of. And eventually, when I was 17, I finished my senior year in 3 months, came over here, and at this point, I'd already been toying with the idea of being a lesbian, but I was afraid to come out. I wasn't sure if my parents would accept me. I just moved to another country. I was getting really stressed out. I went to school at uni here in Australia for a few years, and then I came to La Trobe and I realized, you know what, I'm a lesbian. I felt really welcomed at La Trobe, and so I came out, and a year after that I was welcomed as a QUeerPeer.
Fantastic. Now, what are you actually studying? Because you've got quite a unique skill set that you're learning at the moment.
Yes, I'm doing a double degree in microbiology and English literature.
So how do those pair together exactly?
Well, you wouldn't think they would work, but for me, what I plan on doing is writing books about plagues and about epidemiology. And so basically what you're going to see from me is I'm going to write zombie virus. That's what's going to happen. It's going to be scientifically accurate.
You know, you've already become my new favourite author.
If science could identify a gay or lesbian gene, is that a good or bad thing, and why?
I guess that's a difficult question. I guess it sort of makes the statement that we were born this way true. But then, I don't know, there's a lot of talk about the fluidity of sexuality. It sort of creates complications for that. I don't know. I think if it's something that's predetermined in our DNA, it could be a good and a bad thing. I don't think it's just a black and white issue. Lots of grey.
So you both mentioned this queer peers, and I can see some of the other La Trobe students here kind of nodding away. What are the queer peers?
So the counselling service employs 2 students who are at the university who are there to help facilitate some of the programs that the counselling service runs. So myself and Anya are the 2 queer peers, and we sit in the room during a session that we have weekly called Queer Chat, which is an opportunity for students to just sit like we are now, kind of talk about different sorts of issues that they might be up against and that kind of thing, and then we sort of run different projects during the year as well.
Oh, Steve, you were saying in the green room though, you made a comment about one of the earlier segments.
It was just interesting to hear how different students who don't have the support at their university, like you were talking earlier about how you don't have that on your campus, and so building that up, so those sorts of, I guess it's very relatable to the kinds of little programs that we're doing to kind of just build up or how different a person's experience of university can be when they do have those services versus when they don't. So yeah.
Yeah, I think it makes a huge difference. I just don't know what it would be like to have that as my university experience. You know, so I guess that's why I'm trying to at least contribute something for others.
Now, I've got a question. Do we think that, do the things that, I guess, are studied at university, do they need to be upgraded to be more queer relevant? Or is it, are we trying to be so exposed and so out there that everyone already knows? Like, where do you think we lie in that?
Well, I think that we need to be a little more, that the teachers and the faculty need to be a little more open. I've run into a few teachers who will actively not speak about it. And then I've also run into teachers, especially in the arts department, who are like, yep, there is a gay community and they are welcome and we're happy, they're just part of the family. So I think it's something that needs to be addressed. I think that we can't get, enough exposure, come on.
Absolutely. I mean, we're here for a reason today. I don't know why.
That's a bad thing because it's fluid, isn't it? Isn't it changing? Yeah.
I agree. I think it would be a bad thing. We know what to be.
I think we've all got it. I think we've all got gayness. Everybody.
So with our students, what was the first thing that you thought, Arjun, when you heard about the queer chats?
I thought I was surprised and surprised because I wasn't used to it, and I hadn't come across a support group before. So for me it was novel and it was great. And the first thing I did was actually call up Devorah and meet up with her.
Yeah, fantastic. And for anyone who is, I guess, at the Trobe University, for example, because that's where our queer peers are from today, what would you say to any new students that are at that at La Trobe? What would you say to them if they're a little bit unsure about their sexual identity or their gender identity?
That there are support services there, that the counselling service has got services available, the student union has a queer officer and there's queer spaces, so I guess ask that question or go looking online, Googling all that kind of stuff, it'll all come up on the system. And then a lot of students here today have talked that having interacted with those services, they've gotten huge benefit out of it, so I think that's sort of a pretty good review of the positives that can come from it. But look into it and there are services there. Yeah.
And as Stephen said, there are services, and I'd also tell them that it's okay to be unsure, and when you're ready, the Trobe is one of the best places to come out because it's so welcoming. We got Pride Week. It's a big encompassing community that loves diversity. So whenever you're ready, you'll be welcomed.
That is a fantastic way to end the episode. Thank you so much to our guests and to our experts. You've been watching Queer Young Thing.